Okay, today I'm going to show you my next native terrain dragon deck that I have yet to make a deck tech for. I've just done two, actually three. My terrain deck, which is a killer terrain deck, uses two native terrain dragons, but I posted that video a while ago. So I have three more to go. Today I'm doing the native terrain lake and desert, and the dual terrain Oasis, which of course makes a lot of sense. Really like this dragon Kalahari. I like the way he looks with the little teeth up on his mouth, and of course the ground as well. But he's 4 strength dragon for 6 gold, native terrain desert. Heat waves have no effect on Kalahari. Each heat wave in your discard pile counts as a desert terrain. So this is a very cool idea. I'm assuming Mike Fitzgerald came up with it. I don't know who came up with it, but I think it's great. You take a card that is not really played in constructed and you put it on the dragon, and now that card becomes a much more playable card. Heatwave is an okay card. Some people would say it's not, it's bad. I would say it's okay. It's something that I will play in a basic deck, but I would never play it in a constructed deck, not even as a sideboard. I don't think there'd be any reason to do it, but now there is, because both of these dragons, because of that ability, now have 12 possible buffs for their strength, and Lacustrian here gets the buff ×2, which is insane. That's 24 more points, which is beyond that. That's more powerful than Mixquaddle, who can be a 19 strength flying dragon attacking on turn 1. Well, that's turn 1, of course, and you can't do that with this guy. He's a 4 strength. He's a 2 strength dragon for 4 native terrain lake. So let's get into that and show you all the different terrains there, in addition to Heatwave for Kalahari, which I will show. So we have 4 lakes, the basic lake terrain, and then I have 4 frozen lakes. I'm only have 1 here, but I will put the other 3 in the deck. They're in another deck right now. And the thing about my rule is, if the terrain doesn't apply, the terrain is swapped out. It is not destroyed. So if a 3 strength or smaller dragon hits this terrain, it'll just swap it out, which I don't mind because I want it in my discard pile. But it will. That's just my rule. I understand if people want to use the regular rule. I don't care for it. 4 desert terrains for Kalahari, and then of course 4 Oasis, which has no other ability, just counts as both a desert and a lake for native terrain dragons. And this dual terrain is the only reason I built this deck. I wouldn't build this deck if I didn't have this dual terrain, because there's no reason to combine the two. But now there is, because of this. And then the only other cards in this deck, I might put 1 more dragon in here. I'm not sure yet. But I'm running 3 scouts, Amphiptere, Delphyne, and I've been over these dragons in other videos if you want to hear me talk about them more, and Moghur. Pretty much the same cards that I've already used in other native terrain dragon decks. Lindwurm, Lambton Worm, and the absolute in every native terrain dragon deck, Kane-Kua-Ana, because you have to keep your native terrain dragons alive, because there's only 1 or 2 in each of these decks. There's 2 in every deck except my one deck, my Teuton deck. He's the only native terrain dragon in the deck. Now, Basilisk is not in it because he sits on the side with my other cards like Magnetic Field and Gold Dig and Fields of Gold and Mixquaddle, and I will put him in when I play this deck. I keep them on the side so that I can just put them in whatever deck I'm playing, because I don't have enough copies of these rare cards to get to use in every deck. But Basilisk is nasty, great dragon, and perfectly playable probably in every deck. I'm not planning on running right now my 3 Fields of Gold and my Mixquaddle. Sometimes I use 4 Fields of Gold and Mixquaddle, but this is for gold generation. I might add it in, so I'm just showing it over here along with my gold digs that are off on the side. As of right now, I won't be doing that, so I'm going to do a couple other things to help with the gold generation, which hopefully will work. And of course, my magnetic field and my treasure hoard is off on the side, as it is with almost every deck I have. I just keep it here and I put it in when it's time to play them. So 4 magnetic fields, And then, of course, we have our 4 Heatwaves, which is, it can be effective. It can do something for you, but now it does something really good with Kalahari. I'm going to run again 4 Meteor Showers, but I'm also adding 1 Apollo. That's the other thing. With these native terrain decks, I'm going to build very similar decks with them, so there's going to be a lot of the repeat cards. But I'm trying each time as I go through them, because I made these decks a while ago, and so far I've made changes to each one as I've looked through them again. But I'm trying to do things a little differently. I don't want to do it exactly the same. I'm trying to make it a little variance to make it a little more interesting. So I'm running 3 Marduks this time. Might up that to 4. I don't know. And I'm running 1 Adonis. There were 2 Adonises in here when I first looked at this a few days ago. Decided to go down to 1. Adonis says for 2 gold action card, place Adonis on a face-up scout. This dragon is no longer a scout and loses all special abilities as long as Adonis is on the dragon. Discard Adonis if the dragon is turned face down. So they do have a way of getting rid of it, possibly, in which case I wouldn't probably bother to play it if they're running Cauldron or something. And then I had 2 Centaurs. I decided to just go with 1. Centaur is a good card. For 1 gold, the opponent pays 1 gold to the gold mine for each treasure he has in play. Any treasure paid for is removed from play. Opponent pays 1 gold. Right. Yeah. Pay the gold or you lose the treasure. So if you have 4 treasures in play, you have to decide for each treasure, do I pay the gold or do I let it go? So it's a good card. Not sure I need it in this deck, but it was in here when I checked it, and I thought, all right, I'll leave 1 of each. Going to run 2 Strangle Holds. I just posted a video of my 2-ton deck being played, and Strangle Hold did really, really well. So you might enjoy if you like Strangle Hold, you want to see it do some work. It did some work. So I'm running 2 copies for now. I'm running 1 Pan because I have to deal with Dragon Slayers, of course. In my native terrain decks, you have to have some answers for Dragon Slayers. So 1 Pan, my 1 automatic Volcanic Eruption, and I'm trying this out to deal with Scouts, something different that I haven't done yet. Blinding Light. Hidden action. Place face down under 1 of your terrain cards. If a scout destroys the terrain card, the scout loses the ability to scout and any other special ability on the card. Now, hidden actions tend to be weak, in my opinion. I feel like they need something more than what they have, but I haven't really worked out what would be right. I thought maybe you get a gold piece each time you play one. Somebody didn't think that was a good rule. Maybe they're right. I'm thinking it over. The other thing about hidden actions, though, is that if you play a hidden action on a terrain and you don't have a hidden action to play on a dragon, they might figure out that must be a terrain, or if you're only playing on a dragon, like if you play your opponent again, they're going to know, oh, well, that's a terrain because you only played on terrains before. So if I use hidden actions, I try to have 1 for terrains, 1 for dragons to keep them off balance. And then there are those hidden actions that you try to play under 1 of your opponent's cards. The problem with that is if you don't guess correctly, the card literally does nothing, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think you should get to draw a card if you played it on the wrong card. It's like, oh, I didn't get it, at least I get to replace it. I think something like that would make it better. Anyway, this card, I'm fine with not playing any on dragons, because if my opponent thinks this is a terrain because I'm not attacking with it, he's like, well, I'm going to hit it with a scout first. Okay, good. Now you've lost your scout. If he hits it with a dragon, so what? I mean, the Blinding Light didn't do anything, but I still got the terrain on the dragon. That's why I'm trying this. Now, in one of my native terrain decks, I did 4 Seths. My second one, I did 3 Galahads and 1 Jason. So this time I decided to combine them. We're going to go 2 Seths, 1 Galahad, and 1 Jason, just to make it a little bit different from the other decks, though it is still pretty darn similar. And my 1 copy of Kiss, and that's it for the action cards. Okay, battle actions, we're doing our 4 golden apples and our 4 knights to keep the dragons from dying. And without my gold digs, I'm going to try running 2 sacrifice. If I put gold digs in the deck, I will take out the sacrifice more than likely. 1 Prometheus, as I often use. My 4 Fountains of Youth, and I had a treasure room in here and a gold market, and I decided, no, let's go with 2 gold markets. So we're going with 2 gold markets. Potentially great way to generate gold. Risky, but really, really good. So that is my native terrain lake and desert Oasis deck. I like it. I'm looking forward to play testing it at some point here. Possibly Wednesday. Today is Saturday. There's a chance. Well, I'll talk to you later. We'll talk to you. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.